Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Mama, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. It is 39 degrees and mostly cloudy outside. The temperature is rising, thank goodness. But here we are, another day in this paradise we call the United States of America. I am going to read my morning motivation and then we'll go forth. I have Rachel Hannibal in the chat waiting to be let in. I'm going to get her in a second, and I also have Cherie Syfax on because it is Love is Thursday. So here's my morning motivation. We all have intuition or spidey senses, and if we pay more attention to that God given gift, could save ourselves a ton of angst. I have spent appreciable amounts of time around people who seem to be sweet, generous, etc., but something about them that I could not explain in the moment made me practice a modicum of a level of caution and pay close attention. Who these people are at their core sometimes take a while to fully manifest because they are often masters at putting on a public facade that can be difficult to penetrate as they fight hard to not be seen for who they truly are in plain sight. One tiny wrinkle. None of us, and I do mean none of us, can pretend to be who we are not forever because it requires a ton of energy and eventually certain behaviors begin to slip through. We want to believe everyone is good and decent and kind. Let me debunk that myth. Babies are born that way, and somewhere as life continues to throw crap at us, instead of working it through, some wrap themselves up in the unearned entitlements, disappointments, and hurt to become calculating, cold, and evil as hell. That spirit, because it is one, can and will destroy anything in its path. So hear me. When you feel something weird each time you're around them, no matter how nice they may seem to be, watch yourselves. Someone finally revealed themselves to me in what was then an innocuous conversation, and it all immediately clicked in my soul why I could not allow myself to go beyond a certain point. It took years, but there it was. I smiled to myself and said, checkmate silently, and thanked God and all my assigned guardian angels that my intuition made me avoid what could have been a serious landmine. Protect your souls, people, at all costs. Some relationships are not worth it. Good morning. That goes, I don't even want to go into what that all means. We'll talk about that as we have our discussions every day that we're on the air. You hear bits and pieces of what I mean when I read these morning motivations. These are all my handwriting. If it's not me, I will let you know. I'll say I got this from such and such and such and such, right? Because I believe in giving credit where credit is due. I'm going to go into letting Rachel Hannibal in for our money segment. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to read because we all know what happened in Minneapolis yesterday. We'll talk about that shortly, but I'm trying to get into making sure that I give you what you need each day as life continues to shift all around us, right? So good morning, Rachel. Good morning, my darling. How are you?
Good morning. I'm unstoppable. How are you?
I am good, thank you. So I'm going to read briefly from an issue, DC report that was written, oh my God, today. Dear God, on today. No, it was written December 29th. So just a few days ago. Yet again, banks are short of cash, signs of another historic bailout and recession to come. Ominous signs that at least one of America's too big to fail banks is yet again seriously short of cash emerged this weekend in documents examined by James Henry, DC Report's economics correspondent. For the past 2 months, Federal Reserve has been silently injecting tens of billions of dollars of cash into banks. No one announced this. Henry found the evidence in public records that few, if any, Wall Street journalists consult, but that we routinely review at DC Report. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York, NY Fed, acting like a financial Santa Claus to recklessly naughty bankers, delivered $17 billion in cash to unknown bank or banks at 8 a.m. the morning after Christmas. That's just the latest scary development that has gone unreported until now. The sudden demands for cash to cover shortfalls began on Halloween. That day, the NY Fed injected more than 50 billion into one or more unnamed banks. Since then, it has injected tens of billions into banks 14 times, delivering greenbacks galore roughly every third business day. Contrast this with the 5 years beginning in July 2020. Virtually no such cash infusions were made during that time, as the graphic below from the NY Fed website shows. So I've been quietly talking about that. Well, not quietly, I've been saying it, right? While the NY Fed doesn't identify which banks benefited, other records Henry found indicate that more major beneficiaries are Bank of
Yeah.
America, Barclays, Citi, HSBC, UBS, and likely of greatest concern, the nation's largest bank holding company, JP Morgan Chase and Company. There's more. Cash infusions are likely to grow enormously and soon. In a vaguely worded NY Fed policy on December 10th, which not one of the major financial news organizations has reported, the Fed flung its vaults wide open to troubled banks. The only reason the NY Fed would do this is because it had good reason to expect that cash infusion demands are about to balloon. So, good morning, my darling. Let me just go ahead and introduce you to the people because I said this the other day, and they were like, "That's not happening." I'm like, "Can y'all read? Read, please." Rachel Hannibal is a certified financial education instructor and founder of Missing Piece Financial Group. For the last 10 years, she has been a personal finance coach for adults, helping them reach their short-term and long-term financial goals. So we're going to talk about what is the state of the major banks in the United States, and where do we go from here? What do we do with a little bit of cash we got in a little bit of coins? Mm,
Well, first, let me start with happy 2026 to the millionaires in our
thank you.
chat, and happy belated birthday, mother. Um,
Thank you, honey.
so I'm gonna repeat what I've been saying, and I know we keep repeating things we've been talking about for a while. You have to spread your money out. You absolutely have to spread your money out. You need to have some in the online bank, some in the bank that you can walk into, but you can't have all your money in one place. We just can't do it anymore. We cannot do that anymore.
But if it's all in trouble, as we can see, J.P. Morgan Chase is the mammoth in all of this, and Citi, all of them, Morgan Stanley, all of them. Even if we are taking our monies and putting them, diversifying them and putting them in different banks, when the ish crashes, our money is in all these different banks, right? So, in your humble opinion, because I know that you can't tell me, you can't read the tea leaves because they're not talking about it. It's not being reported in any major financial news or otherwise, in the country. That what would your instinct tell you to do, given that you're hearing billions of dollars are being poured into banks every 3 days, y'all? They just printed money like, what would you do?
Well, I would start with making sure that I have cash. We talked about cash on our
That
last
was
time
one of the
together.
things they said. Yep.
Making sure you have cash. And also for one of my clients last week, we set up prepaid debit cards for her because she doesn't have credit cards. So I'm like, you need a B and a C at this
Mhm,
point.
mhm.
So good morning, Monica. So with the prepaid debit cards, that is helpful as well. When you go places, you have your cash, right? But they say, hey, we don't take cash. We can't take cash. They removed our cash drawers 4 years ago. right? You can have these, and you don't have credit cards. You can have these prepaid debit cards where the money is already on there. You don't have to worry about, anything else additional, is the bank crashing or not. The money is already on there. So that is
Mhm.
another way that you can kind of keep money, emergency money, if you need to
Mhm.
get out of town, if you need to, I don't know, need to get some food for a couple days until they figure things out.
Mhm.
Those are that's another way that you can kind of the
Mhm.
argument between the small banks and the large banks, right? Like I believe everyone should have money in even a credit union, a smaller community bank. They are the argument is that they're safer because they are not taking on risky lending. They're not doing as much risky investing,
Mhm.
and they're owned by the community, and so it is safe to put your money there as well, spread out some money there when you're talking
Mhm.
about our smaller banks. But you definitely want to make sure that you don't have all your money in the big banks. But the argument, I will say, for the big banks is that they're too big to fail, right? That the people who want your money do not are going to do whatever they can to keep pumping this money into the banks to make
Mhm.
sure that they do not fail, because they know that they're also not going to get the piece of your wealth that they want, right? And so there's an argument on both sides for big banks, small banks. I think that we should have our money in both.
Okay. Thank you, my darling. So we've heard that argument over the last 500 years. Amsterdam, the Dutch banks. When Amsterdam began to fail, all the private, and we're seeing this happening. BlackRock has taken $1.8 trillion out of America and has moved it to another place offshore of these United States. Facebook and all the folks have been in 2023, 2024 began taking billions, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars out of the stock market, right? They've been doing that quietly. It showed up in the news. Everybody said, oh, they just trying to diversify. When there is trouble on the horizon, the people who have the money and the wherewithal begin to take their monies and diversify in other places, in other countries around the world. Okay, so Amsterdam, then the Dutch people, when Amsterdam failed and all the money was sent to the Dutch and they were winning wars and then they started losing wars, and they said the same thing. Their banks are too, Deutsche, was too big to fail. And then they failed. And then as they were failing, the large companies started moving their money where? To London. And then Britain took over, and too big to fail. And Britain began having Britain owned 23% of the world, including Jamaica. Right. And so they started wars. By the time they got to the Second World War, they were now going to the IMF, begging them to borrow money. Britain failed. So it was always the British pound. The British pound was always too big to fail. And guess where they all started sending their money? Canada and the United States of America. And so United
Mhm.
States, we got together and we were like, yes, we're too big to fail. But what no one has been talking about for the last at least since 2008, so maybe almost 20 years, is that there's some trouble on the horizon in this country, and we're watching now as natural American citizens. Money's being taken. BlackRock took 1.8 trillion, or I think it's even more than that, out of this country. All the big companies that have money that can see the failure coming, they're moving their monies to other places. What happens is the middle class crashes. Do you see that?
Yeah. Hmm.
Right? So
That's
people are
true.
losing their jobs. People are, all of us that are sitting around going, I'm making 200, $300,000 a year. I'm good. I'm going shopping here and I'm going vacationing there. All of that, the bottom of that well is about to fall out, right? We've
Yes.
got about maximum 12 and 12, 24 months before we really, and it's starting to happen in ways that we can't even
Yep.
begin to imagine. Health insurance has gotten too high. The insurance companies are booking out of here, and the doctors are leaving the health insurance companies, and we're having to pay. And so we're seeing signs and wonders of these things taking place in front of us, and yet we believe they're a one-off. It is an indicator that the
Hmm.
dollar is weakening, and we're in big trouble. You cannot just keep feeding, printing money. We are $38 trillion in debt in this country.
Yes, we are.
We have a 38 trillion, that's 300 and something percent above what we even thought that we could happen. At some point, the bottom of the well is going to fall out. So David Alexander Jenkins came on here in November of 2024 and he said, I'm telling you all, buy gold.
Buy gold. Yes, I watched it. Mhm.
Because that money, when the money starts to fail, someone was talking about you can have a wheelbarrow full of cash and can't buy a loaf of bread because the money is worth nothing. We think in America that cannot happen, but we've had three other great instances where that has been the case, and each time it did not fail. Each time we got to a place where we're like, oh my God. So now in this country we're grasping at straws to figure out how to hold on to the value of the dollar. Every time a leader of another country says we're going to sell our oil or we're going to sell our minerals in another form other than US dollar, that leader is deposed of and gone. Poof. So I need you all, as you're listening to me, because, again, I can't do the fluffy stuff. I can't do the dress that Jamal Bryant's wife. I'm not touching that ish. We don't have time for this,
I've had
right?
enough.
So as we're going through all of that and just distracting ourselves, what are we doing with a little bit of money? Because when it all crashes, all your money is gone.
Mhm.
The pensions are gone, disappear. So you're like, I got my pension and I can do disappear. Your monies in the banks are all gone because they're saying they're going to need to use it. And war is more than likely what they're going to say they needed to take your money for. And people are going to be running out in these streets acting like a plumb dumb fool, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
gold, copper, silver gone up to 70 something dollars. Silver that used to be like $9 an ounce is now, because they understand that those are the things where you can have value and move your money. After saying all of that, Rachel, do you still think that we should diversify our money? And yes, we got to have money in some account somewhere for right now, but read the tea leaves. Do you think we should still put our money in certain places in this country, or do you believe at this point we have to figure out a way to diversify, like buy gold, buy silver, buy copper, and move some of our monies offshore?
All the above. There's no or here because there's so many pieces happening. And yes, there's been slow pieces. I heard him say buy gold. I did what he said. I did what he said, and I will continue to. Every all the above is an option. We cannot afford to just pick one thing
Yeah.
and just bet all on that, right? We have to
Hmm.
create our fire escape plan. Like, what does
Yes.
that look like? And be realistic about what are your fears for the next. You talk about 24 months. What are your fears? What does it look like? If it's natural disasters, if it's certain storms starting to get closer to where you live that we normally, they normally don't have, whatever it looks like,
Hmm.
you need to create a plan, like a
Yep.
real plan of what does that look like? If this happens,
Yep.
who am I going to call? Where can I go? Can I drive to
Hmm.
this place? Do I have enough? Create the plan. Get the gold, get the silver, all the above. Invest
Yes.
overseas, all the above.
Yeah.
Because we just can't afford to just do one or
Yep.
two things at this point.
Yes, ma'am. Agreed. The other thing is, as the bottom starts to fall out of the well, I've said this, find your tribe, right? We've talked about this, find your tribe. So if have some cash on hand, because when the other thing is, we're talking about these prepaid debit cards, when the systems go down, when electricity or whatever happens, and we saw this happen, it was tested in Europe a few months ago. The
Yep.
trains didn't work, the ATMs didn't work, nothing worked, right? So cash is always important to have on
Mhm.
hand. So always make sure you have some. Make sure you fortify your homes. We saw I've been reporting for the last few months, and God knows this is why I'm not forcing anybody to come here, because I believe when you come, you will stay. That people are coming into folks' house, breaking into folks' houses and squatting, even while they're in the house, squatting into their basements. And when people come, when they
Oh,
call the cops, they were like, well, we were invited here, or we have a lease. They put some lease off of the internet. So figure out how to fortify your homes. Make sure you have enough food in for at least 72 2 hours to 3 weeks, right? David talked about 2 cans of soup a day. We've been having this discussion ad nauseum, ad nauseum. So while we're out here, and then we saw people go and get tracked out in the Caribbean. That's the other thing. The world is so
oh, right.
unstable right now. As you are traveling, I'm trying to get Chi on here. I'm not telling you don't travel because y'all are gonna do what you want to do. You want your peace, you want your whatever else, but be very mindful. Read the tea leaves. What's going on in that area of the world? There are folks now writing and saying things online how much they hate Americans. That blue passport is no longer the ticket to oh my God, I'm going to be safe. They're targeting us in order to get back at this country. All of that is happening, y'all,
All of that is happening.
as we're waving flags and doing what we need to do. And I'm not telling you not to have a life. I'm telling you to be mindful and to be prepared
Yes.
and don't get caught up congratulating yourselves and doing things that are going to continue to harm other people. Tiffany is saying, how much cash on hand should you have? That depends upon you, my darling. That absolutely
Yeah, it
depends upon
does.
you.
Yeah,
What do you
it
think,
depends. It depends on
Rachel?
you. Too much gets a little scary, right? You have to ask yourself, I don't know how many, it depends on how many people in your household, how many people you're responsible for. What do I need for 2 weeks? If I need 2 weeks of myself or myself and my mom, whoever you're responsible for, think of what that number is and start to build to that number. We just need to
Mm-hmm.
eat, get some water, get some shelter for 2 weeks. Just think along those lines,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll give you a good idea of a goal there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
So
no, that's
Viola,
it's crazy, Squat. That's
oh,
crazy.
but I talked about it months ago. This is what this show is about. We're talking about what's happening to people in real life, right? So it's the people coming and squatting. Someone who works for the federal government with the electric grid inboxed me and said, "You and I have been talking since 2019." He said, "You all need to stay off the internet talking about, what you have in your house. Stay off the internet talking about what your house, how you can get in and out. Stay off the internet talking about where you're traveling." He said, even just talking about what you plan, because food is going to be in scarce supply. And so folks are going to
Yes,
look for it. They're going to scour online to find out the people who have what, because we talk too freaking much. We talk
yes,
too much,
yes.
right?
And can I
So,
say,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, darling.
We recently just had a Klarna glitch happen over the holidays. And a big part of the glitch was people were using other people's social security number or identity or whatever to have a Merry Christmas, basically. And in the next few weeks, these things are going to begin to appear on people's credit reports or whatever if they haven't already.
Mm-hmm.
As we approach tax season, you have to be mindful who you give your personal information to. Time out for going and printing out things and taking it to somebody's auntie somewhere, and they just have a stack of just paperwork with all the people's personal information just sitting there on their dining room table, and you don't know who's coming in and out of their house. You don't know what's going on. As you prepare to gather all of your personal information, things are coming in the mail right now for year end, for tax season. Be mindful of leaving stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
Ask your tax professional, how is my information being stored and
Yep.
protected? This is very important during this time because once someone gets your social security number, they may not use it tomorrow. They can use, as soon as this stuff starts to bottom out, everyone is going to instantly look for ways to take from someone else. Lock your credit. I've been saying lock your credit all the years I've been on this show. I've been
Mm-hmm.
talking about locking your credit. If you locked your credit, you wouldn't have been a victim of that Klarna glitch that happened. You wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
surprised that someone had a Merry Christmas on you and got 10 MacBooks for their kids or whatever, right? We are gonna this is very important. The information and the protection at this time as we're creating our plan, our fire escape plan, we're calling it, is very important. We cannot ignore these two things right now going
Yes,
forward.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Viola asked, should I stop my direct deposits? You're not going to have a choice to stop them if you, especially if you're getting Social Security benefits, pieces, whatever. They're saying that they're stopping the checks. All the ways that they're trying to figure out how to get to you. There's also been written reports that if when you use over a certain amount of money in your account, it flags the IRS. So over a certain amount in your account a day. So we are being when this government came in 2025 and Doge went in, all that stuff that they were doing is how they're now tracking and monitoring us, right? So
Yep.
be mindful, know how to get somewhere without using your GPS all the time, because if all these things go down, you need to be aware.
And that
um
happened to me.
really.
That GPS, yes. I was in the middle of trying to find my new hair spot and the GPS went down. And they said that, Google Maps was down or Google was down for a
Right.
certain amount of time. And I was like, I got to pull over because I have no clue.
Right.
how to get from where I am to where the new
And
place.
so when you, with yours just saying that, the other thing I want to tell all of you is get road maps. Go get a regular schmegular road map and learn how to read that thing. Find the street where you live and see the cross streets and where you're going. How you go. You might have to navigate that way, right? Um, I am grateful that you all have spent the time. You know, people like Rachel will always be on here. So, Rachel, for me, I love that you say all of the above. You can't just take, please do not take all your money out of your account and run with it and put it under your mattress. That's not going to help you either. Right. So make sure
No.
you have a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit, there. And we keep thinking that this is only meant for wealthy, wealthy people to go buy gold and silver. Buy it now while you can. Silver is $70 an ounce now. It's going to be way more. And as David says, if you have gold jewelry, the way the Jewish people did it when they were being beaten and killed was that they wore their jewels on their
Yeah.
bodies, and they could
Hmm.
use the gems, to bargain for cash so that they could do what they needed to do. We have to learn from history, y'all. Stop
Yeah.
acting like this cannot happen. It will never happen. We can't go there now. Yesterday, we saw a Caucasian woman being shot and killed by ICE agents,
A citizen.
but that's been going on all year.
I
I've had
know. I know.
conversations with people who work for major companies who say employees disappear, American citizens disappeared. And 6 months later, they come back and said ICE had them. Even though they had their
Mm,
real IDs and they had their this, some of them never come back at all.
I believe that. Oh my god.
So again, don't walk around in this cloud of I am okay. Keep your head and eyes and hearts open and be on a swivel and starve the freaking distractions around you. If I see one more post about that dress, I'm gonna unfriend anybody who I can't.
I should be able to just block a topic.
I am
Like I should
literally
be able
blocking folks. I can't.
I just want
They're
to block
having
a topic.
in-depth discussions about this. Meanwhile, the banks are infused with being infused with cash. People, American citizens are being shot and killed. Countries are being invaded and nobody's paying attention to what's going on because they're like, oh, well, Russia's going to be so mad and China's going to be so mad. And we don't hear a blip from them. No one is talking about the fact that they probably sat down. There was a news report about them sitting down and making agreements about how we carve it up this world, right? Because we just don't think these things can happen. We're still stuck in the old Cold War days. This
Yeah.
president believes in having relationships with these leaders that other presidents didn't. Right? Again, we need to pay attention.
And
We need
even
to pay
for
attention.
us, even if you don't, even if for some people what everything that's going on is overwhelming. Some people feel that way. I just want like how we feel about the dress, right? Like I want to block all this out. I don't suggest that. However, you can still bring it home to you. If someone snatches you, do you have anyone's phone number memorized? Probably not. You haven't memorized anyone's phone number in 20 something years, right? Do you have you don't you all your battery is always dying. I'm the person I'm the battery police. If I see someone send me a screenshot and their battery is low, why is your battery always there's emergencies could happen. You might need to record. You have no
Mhm.
clue what the situation is. We just need to do the small things can add up. We need to be a part of our own rescue. Again, you don't even know someone's phone number if you lose your phone. Can you dial? Can you have it memorized? No, absolutely not.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
we need to start with the things that's at home.
And if you cannot memorize it, writing on a piece of paper all the numbers you need to remember, right? And all the addresses where you need to go, and even write down the directions and how to get to them, and keep them in a safe place only you know, so that you can do this. The problem, as I see it, is we're just so the lack of concern. And let me say this. I think we're all on. There's some level of anxiety for everybody. There's some level of anxiety for everybody. You cannot live here. You cannot live anywhere around the world and not feel this, right? But take that anxiety and do something with it. Go for a walk because
Yeah.
you got to keep your health up, right? Go
Hmm.
for a walk, do a little bit of
Read a book.
meditation, right? Get off the phones, get off social media, go take a long, brisk walk, put some music in your ears, pay attention to what's going on around you, right? We have a you don't no I we have a radio that's not even battery operated. You have to wind it to get the
I
information,
love
right?
that.
So you're using your own energy to wind the because again, batteries may be in short supply. You have to think, do you have lamps that are operated with kerosene or oil or whatever it is? Do you have gas masks in your house? I'm talking to you like we're living in a third world country, but guess what? You
You're
see
right.
the thing coming towards you every single day, every single day, right? The businesses are losing money. The restaurants are losing money because people are
Yeah.
quietly not able to spend. So let me ask you this, Rachel. The last thing I'm going to ask you before I let you go. How do you think, what should people do in terms of if they don't have a whole lot of money, how much should they be trying to save versus how much they should be spending right now in the midst of everything that's going on?
I believe in the 10%. I believe in the tithe to the people and to yourself. And so for some people that's enough to good a good start. Try to put aside 10% for yourself as well. Pay yourself first. And if you could do more, more. But if you need to start there and slowly increase it, you have to. Every dollar is going to count in all the situations that we are mentioning.
Mhm,
So if you say, oh, it's just $5 or whatever, um,
mhm.
we need to really spend time, have needs only days, have needs only weeks, have needs
I
only
like
months.
this. Needs
We
only
all
days,
are living
weeks,
in
and
in,
months.
in access, right? And
Mhm,
so part of my journey of being completely debt free, I had 3 days a week that I only spent money on needs, and it was something that I didn't even say to anyone else, right? It would just be a no. If you ask me on a Tuesday, it's a no because
mhm,
that's my personal conviction. And so
mhm,
we can go extended period of time with only spending money on needs. We don't have to, unsubscribe. Okay,
mhm,
unsubscribe, unfollow, whatever.
mhm,
But you need to have time frames where you are disciplined. We talking about keeping your health up, keep your mind up, keep your spirit up, keep your discipline up, keep your
mhm.
faith up. All of these are muscles that we can't afford to go weak at this time. And
Yes.
so pick time frames and pick days or pick however you decide to do it and say, hey, on these days, I'm only spending money on needs
Mhm.
only. And I'm going to divert extra money to saving for emergencies.
Yes. Hey, hey, Natasha. Yes, my sister. She said cash won't
Yeah.
be king, but resources will be high in demand like coffee, sugar, batteries, flour, medical supplies, and of course, ammunition. Needs only
Mm.
days. I like the needs only days.
Yes. Tiffany said she's going to do a 90-day no spend starting
Starting
with
tomorrow,
needs
only
only
buying
tomorrow. I
needs.
need you to keep me posted on that. If we're not friends
Yeah.
on social media, I need us to be
Hmm.
friends. I need you to keep me
Hmm.
posted on that 90 days. I'm
Hmm.
very serious, by the way. I'm not just
Yeah,
speaking.
my husband and I started this last year. Just spending money on things that we absolutely need, and we've been cutting out things that we don't need. And even this morning, I said to him, I know you like walking to get your walk in, but when you walk in those stores, don't buy a diggity dang thing. We don't need it. He said, "You're right. I only bought milk and eggs the other day. I am not spending money on a thing, on a thing." Right? If it's not a bill that needs to be paid, if it's not a need like toilet paper or something like that, it's not coming out of my pocket. And I'm disciplining myself, right? To make
Mhm.
sure that we can do what we need to do. So needs only, y'all. Start
Needs
with
only.
for the next week. Only, and you would be surprised what stays in your bank account
Yep.
when
And
you
you would be
only do needs
surprised
only.
how many things, like how easy you can break a habit too. Some things we just do on Tuesdays just because we've always done it
Hmm.
on Tuesdays, right? All
Hmm.
you really need is 1 or 2 Tuesdays where you don't do that, and then the habit
Hmm.
is over. You're over it. So you'll be
Hmm.
surprised how easily you break a habit too, and that will add up.
Yes, absolutely. My sister, tell people how they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook at Rachel Hannibal on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And on my website is rachelhannibal.com. I'm also on Instagram at pep talks underscore. So if you want to request a session or if you want some financial tips and all those things, that's where you can find me.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, my sister. This was a good conversation today. Thank you so,
Thank
so
you.
much. And you continue
I
to be
appreciate you.
unstoppable so we can do what we need to do, okay?
I
I'll
promise.
see
Yes,
you
ma'am.
next month. And I don't know what the conversation is going to be next month because, girl,
I mean, every day. I mean, every hour at this point. It's something
every
different.
hour at this point, that's where we are. Love you, my darling. Happy New Year to you
Thank
and
you.
yours. All right. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye bye. All right. So you figured out, she's told you how to find her, rachelhannibal.com. Look for her on um, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Monica says, yes, disciplining myself. My husband and I have been there for a while now. I've tried to dispel, send it to my sisters, just let them, make them aware. We are not spending money we don't have to spend, because we see, and when we only work on needs only, we're able to have the kind of cash to do what we need to do, because in the middle of this rubble, there's going to be opportunities for us to buy things that we wouldn't ordinarily be able to get and buy, because we stop spending and just blowing money because we can blow money. Okay. Cherie Syfax, good morning, my darling. How are
Hey, happy
you?
new year. Haven't seen you guys in a while. Make sure my volume's
Oh,
good.
I know. Yes, because it's been Christmas and then New Year's.
Yep.
Yes, on a
The,
Thursday.
the Thursdays, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How are
Cherie
you?
Syfax, I'm good. Cherie Syfax is a mother, wife, podcast host, entrepreneur, and co-owner of Booker's Restaurant and Bar in West Philadelphia. We've been talking now for the last 3-4 years. We're seeking to demystify Black love, right? That Black women can have it all. And she says she's living proof that a Black woman can have it all and do it with style, class, and grace. I know, Cherie, in these last few years, in these Waconton streets, with everything going crazy around here, our husbands are looking like, How are you, my darling? Happy New Year.
Thank you. I'm well. I am
Yeah.
absolutely well. Yeah, just had some time with my grands during the
Yes.
holidays. That was wonderful. Got to go back home because I had to drop them off. And that was wonderful, spending time with, like I woke up with my husband and then I went to California, so I got love on both coasts.
Besides,
So I'm in good space. I'm in really good space.
Natasha, I know you're on here, and so I wanted to. Natasha and her husband are doing like these conversations on Facebook. They are hilarious. He ain't taking no tea for the fever. She ain't taking none either. Right. So I saw a conversation, just randomly saw a conversation with them where she was saying that women have intuition, that we need to be somebody that we're equally yoked with, and her husband was like, well, the brother's not doing that. I will talk to a waitress who don't have any money. It's how she treats me, etc., etc. You and I have had this conversation many a time, and so brothers will be seen with women that may not look like what somebody should be with them, but they're looking for the person that's going to, my husband has said this all the time. It's a certain thing how you make us feel.
Yeah. And sometimes, and I got to do a good job with that all the time, because sometimes I'm like, look at here.
Right. So Natasha says it is, men are aesthetic. They see what with their eyes first. And her husband did not disagree with that. He said, but after we see with the eyes, we want to get to know you. Meanwhile, the woman would look with the eyes and go, he ugly, he this, he that, he not, he not my type, etc., etc., when it could have been a great match for them. Right. So let's talk about being equally yoked. Okay. What does equally yoked, and her husband said that's just something women made up. He was like, the brothers don't do this.
It's in the Bible.
And Natasha, if you want to join this conversation, let us know. So I'll send you the link, girl.
I'm gonna have to watch it. So it's on Facebook? I know Tracy and I have been talking about getting back on lives and stuff like that. Because obviously, you're married.
She and her husband, they are hilarious. Natasha, hold on. It's Natosha.
Okay. Natasha, I'm sending you a Facebook friendship request.
You gotta see them. They are hilarious. I'm watching their videos and I am cracking up. But the conversations are so freaking real, right? It's really real. Carlene wants to know if Booker's participating in the upcoming restaurant week.
No, that's usually in January. It's Center City. So no, we are not. However, children 10 and under eat free. You get a free entree for birthday people. If it's your birthday, you get a free entree. And of course, we have our live music.
Wait, did you say something about a free? Is that what you tagged me in?
I sure did.
Girl, I'm coming from a free entree.
Okay, well, you're going to have to let me know. My staff be like, we need to see your ID. So I need to let
Tell
me know.
her I didn't know.
Natasha, is it Natasha Warner?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
My girl.
Okay.
I don't know. She may have gotten off because of her children. I just sent her a text message because if she is, I'm sending her the link so she can join us. Natasha had me rocking and rolling and laughing. I
Okay,
said,
perfect.
girl, right? So let's talk. Is oh wait, she's responding to me. Come on, Natasha. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, girl. I'm so excited because she had me die. There she is. He is the fire starter. I'm the calm one. Ooh, now I'm angry. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Natasha, I'm going to send you the link. Hold on. Because I really do want us to. She is hilarious. And she says he's the fire starter. He says whatever. He's like, this is how I feel. I don't care if you this is what you want or think. This is how I feel about this thing. And I really like listening to them, right? So I'm telling you, Natasha, you guys are onto something. And hold on. I'm gonna send you the link. I'm sending you the link. Join us with this link, girl. Cause I want to hear she was not playing with him, and he was not playing either. But I enjoyed the real conversations they were had. So while I'm waiting for her, because she probably will join, so she's in the car listening. She said, "Ooh, no, I'm hangry." Laverne says she's coming for her birthday,
Okay.
and Katisha
Come.
Adams says, "Can you repeat that? Free? Yes, a free
So on your
entree."
birthday, you can come in and you will get a free entree, and families can come in and their children 10 and under eat free for January. The birthdays is all year indefinitely, but free children. We figure you probably spent a whole bunch of money on their gifts, so the parents can get a
Right.
little something.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know this, so just let your staff know. Just put it just say, listen, her birthday was on Sunday. She just heard about this on Thursday. Be nice. She's coming for her free entree. All right. While I'm waiting for Natasha, can talk to me about what you believe about being equally yoked. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I think since it's biblical, a lot of people believe that it has to have a religious it has a religious connotation. And while I do believe that there has to be some synergy or um, some kind of let's see, around religion, you have to have some type of idea that you both value the same things around a higher power.
Ooh,
I
Natasha is
don't.
in the lobby, and
I,
the Lord said, "Let there be light."
hey, Natasha.
Hello, good morning. I look a hot mess. This
Don't
was
worry,
not on
girl.
my bingo card.
It's 6 o'clock, whatever time it is, and who cares?
I'm so
Um,
excited.
but
Yeah,
yeah, but I don't. But like people say, okay, if you're an atheist, you shouldn't marry a Christian. But I don't know that I believe that. I believe that there are other values around life and goals and the way you engage every day. Civic engage. There's so many aspects of people, and it's not just religion. So to me, being equally yoked does not necessarily mean it has to have a foundation in religion. I think Tracy and I'm more spiritual. He goes to church every day. I do go to church with him.
mhm,
But what I think yokes us is just our foundational beliefs in humanity and
absolutely.
family, and kind of like where we both see the world and ourselves in it and things like that. So I think if you're evenly yoked there, that's a really good place to start. And then hopefully all the other things kind of align. Because I
Wonderful.
think even if one's an atheist and one's a Christian, if you respect each other's views and why they are those views, I still think that a relationship can be successful. So my evenly yoked is more around, just kind of who you are as a human and that
Mhm.
person kind of aligning with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I was saying as well with him is that not necessarily religion. Religion is a small part of that, but like you said, financial, your financial fortitude, your awareness of political views, et cetera. You just need to be on the same page is what it is for me.
Mhm. Now, so, because I can't be married to no MAGA,
Oh,
and
right.
that has zero to do with religion, right? Or it
Yeah.
can't have, so that's just me. Like foundationally, from a human place, we don't
Mhm.
align,
Absolutely.
period. So, but that doesn't mean prior to that movement that I could not be with a Republican. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because there was a difference in what the ideology was around even their politics. So I could have had reasonable respect for even someone that was, Republican, even with me being a Democrat. So I truly believe it's kind of just how, again, you see the world. That financial fortitude is huge, huge, I think, at the baseline of being evenly yoked.
But Natasha's husband was like, she don't have to have a whole bunch of money. If she tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, Natasha. What did he say in the conversation?
So we had so many. We had about like 6 parts because this is what we do all the time. We debate on everything. Like the kids are like, stop arguing. We're like, we're not arguing. We're just debating. So in that particular segment, I believe which one you're talking about, because we talked about it last night. I read him your comment, and he was saying that he kind of agreed with what you were saying, but I was like, you're not telling the truth, because when I met him, I saw him first and through a mutual friend, and he said, well, is she fat? Is she ugly? So I told him, men, like I said, men are attracted to aesthetics first and foremost.
Yes.
And then he was like, well, that's everybody. I was like, that's not true. Women can and will date. I have dated some not strong lookers. I don't want to call anybody ugly,
Right.
but I've dated some guys that were not strong lookers. And because we see the whole person versus them just looking at the aesthetics. So that's why I was like, I'm not going to go with my girl. But I do disagree that men are just about, oh, they're going to see her person. They're not going to see that. They're going to see what they see first, and then they'll go from there. They want to make sure that she makes them feel good, because they're not going to date the pretty girl that doesn't make them feel good. I agree with that. Yeah. But the first and foremost, they're going to look at like, oh, okay, let's talk.
And then once they are committed on the physical piece, as long as she's not crazy or, then she can pass the muster. That's why they could date the secretary or the stripper or the
right.
Know, you dated who?
Exactly.
She was cool and she made me feel good. And so some of that status piece that may be women, because we want protectors, we want providers just innately for the most part of how we're wired. So yes, there's other things around stability that can be attractive for us, whereas they are the provider. So they're not looking for that person for that same type of stability. They don't want you to be crazy, but that financial stability is not as high on their needs.
I am loving this conversation. Thank you, Natasha, for joining us. But because here's a dialogue that I've been seeing quite a bit on social media. If he ain't 6'5" and fine as wine, if he's not making over 6 figures, if he can't put me in the house and I don't have no money, but it's on him to take care of me, kind of thing. Stop me when I'm wrong. How have we gone from looking for protection and bringing our own values to the table versus just looking for someone? If he's not taking me to a restaurant where the bill starts at $100, I don't want to go. Nobody wants to go for coffee.
I think that's a social media thing, and I think those people are outliers more than we think. I think we are seeing it in a social space and in digital real estate, so we think that is what's happening. But most of the times when I see that, there's a healthy number of people debating that. Why would someone just completely invest a few $100s in you? Again, all of it too depends on where you are in this world and kind of your age. And, so my first date with Tracy, we were, most people know this, we were in COVID. I did this whole big thing at my house and made my house a restaurant and had a chef come in and all the things. And yes, my expectation was that he was going to pay for it, but I was 50. I mean, you should be able to pay. You know what I mean? Like,
so but you were the one who ordered the chef and everything. You didn't think you should cover that?
If I was 25, I should, my breadth of what my desire would have been different. But at 50, and if you couldn't pay it, it wouldn't have been that it would have caught me off, or it would have made me say that he couldn't manage me. But that was
Jimmy, I'm looking at you going, wait a minute.
That was my expectation. That was my expectation. But I would not have been off put if he couldn't. And I say that because in our relationship, Tracy did ultimately tell me, because I would plan all these really extravagant dates. I mean, we were in COVID, but I would be like, hey, we're going to go to this bed and breakfast and we're going to do massages and all that stuff. And finally, he was like, hey, we are in COVID. I'm an entrepreneur. Before he retired, he built houses. He said, the things that I do to make money have stopped. He did public speaking. He built houses. He said, so while you deserve the world, right now, we don't know how long this is going to last. Me being unable to make money in the way and in the cadence that I am used to. He said, I had just completed a huge project and I had my money budgeted out to weigh this thing out, depending on how long it lasted. And you come into my life and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. But if we are going to do these things at the rate in which you like to do them, then I'm going to need you to handle the social part of the relationship, and then I'll handle the other parts. That I got that. I respected that so much because I know that made me say, okay, he's managing and budgeting his money. He respects the things that I like, but he can speak and say, because a lot of men that I've dated would do the things and then regret or have some, what do you call it? Not regret. They would be mad at me, remorse, not remorse. When they're begrudgingly doing it, I'm 55, so my brain, but, but, they would resent me because maybe they didn't have it. And now they've resented the fact that they've spent that money. And so I just love that he could communicate. Like that made me, I was already liking Tracy, but that made me really love Tracy because I was like, okay, a person who can speak, a person who's budgeting, a person who respects that I have this lifestyle, but it's like, hey, this part. So still, and up until the time when I didn't work anymore, I handled all of our social things and he took care of everything else. And still in us deciding that I would manage our businesses and not work in corporate America, he handles everything. So what if I had been like, oh, he couldn't pay, he couldn't pay, or he said that he couldn't pay for all my trips or all the things that I was trying to do. They weren't, a lot, but it was a lot, so I got that. And it made me understand who he was as a person. And I knew we were more aligned in how we thought about finances. Even though I will spend on things that I like, I still budget and I still save and I still, want to make sure that, I'm covered because I'd been single for so long. So I had to do that for myself. So I appreciated that and I valued that.
Yeah. Natasha, talk to me a little bit about you and your husband.
So I'm glad you said it because we were talking about this yesterday. So this was probably before COVID. I was seeing a mental health therapist, and one of my good friends connected me with her. And one of the things that my husband and I enjoy, and I'm not going to give the restaurant, but it's a local fast food chain, and we would just go there. He worked nights at the time, and I would get off in the morning. Well, I would be off, and we would just meet at this restaurant. Okay, Chick-fil-A. And so that became our little spot. That was we call it our stolen moment. At the time we had younger kids. So it would be like, okay, let's meet there on your way to work, on your way off. And let's just have a moment to just have a cup of coffee. I don't drink coffee, but tea, have something to eat. We got a little bagel sandwich, and then we went about our way. The therapist, I was telling her about some of the times we have our stolen moments at these. It could be Chick-fil-A, it could be the corner bakery. It doesn't matter. It was just the time and the quality and to just sit and talk. And she told me, she said, oh, come on, you got to have him step his game up. And I was very offended by that, to the point where I never went back to her again. Because my thought is, it doesn't matter if it's a high-end restaurant or it's a $5 meal. And to that point, Andrea, before I met him, I've dated this guy. We literally went to a park. We got some chicken from a local place, and we just sat in the park and ate chicken and drank some soda, because it has never been about money for me. And so to that point, I'm never going to be, I wasn't going to ever be aligned with somebody who is, oh, let's go out and take you on this helicopter ride. That's just not me. I'm very low key. I'm very basic. And it's not to say like, oh, step my game up, but that's just who I am. I'm not materialistic. I don't do you don't have to buy all the bells and whistles for me to be attracted to you. What we do is we sit at this kitchen table and we talk for hours on end. And that's just always something that we've done. So in that regard, we're equally yoked. I don't need all the fanfare. Some women do. I get that. That's just not me.
Yeah.
And thankfully, that's not him either.
Talk to us a little bit about how you met.
And I think the beauty.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second, Sherry, because I don't want to miss the point with her. Give me 1 second, please. Talk to us about how you guys met, because you've been very vocal, public about how you had a baby and was told that you were getting a divorce. Explain to people why you are where you are today, because you made quite a career in the federal government too.
Yes. So 37 years, that's a whole nother topic I want to talk about today. Didn't get my pension. We talked about that earlier on your show. So we met, I had a 5-year-old daughter. I was married and I was divorced. And so when I met him, I saw him first. I was like, ooh, who's that? And so a mutual friend or mutual colleague connected us. And so, from that day forward, it was our first date, in fact, was him coming to my home, my mother's birthday, my good friend's birthday. I had a little party for them, and he came and met all of my whole family. And it was that point that he didn't meet my daughter, but she was there. And I told her, like, hey, go upstairs with your little friends. And so it was a community kind of meeting when we had our first date, coming to my home, eating up all my chicken wings that he just fell in love with. And it was just on and popping since then. We actually met and married within 8 months. And so it's been, this year we'll celebrate 18 years. He's my best friend. Again, we people, like the kids, like, stop arguing. We're like, we're not arguing. These are our debates. We just talk for hours on end, no TV, no other people, just us sitting at the kitchen table, just debating everything under the sun. And he's a funny person, but I'm funny in my own way. And we just go at it. But we never needed the pomp and circumstances. I'm sure I got gum. Let me forget. We just never needed that in our lives, in our relationship, and it works for us.
Yeah, you've built quite a life too. I've watched the boys grow up. I watched your daughter, who is your twin. I've watched it all, and so you've given us a viewpoint of what it should and could be for folks. Because to your point, there's so many sisters who are like, I want that, but they don't know what that entails, right? What the sacrifices are, what you do to get to where you are. And so now, 37 after, it was the FBI, IRS, where were you?
FBI for 34 years and then IRS for the last 3 years.
Right. And he was in the federal government too, correct?
Right. He worked for the Bureau of Prisons. So that was why I never had him like posted on my page, because it was a security thing. He was like, no, don't put me out there because, I have to go into this prison and that I don't need people identifying me. He's since retired with me. So he actually retired back in September with me. And now we have a house with 0 income. So to your point about not spending, we started a new business together. So he's my business partner. Sometimes I want to choke him, my coworker, but, we make it work. And to your point, I was always making the most money in the house, but we put every single dime together. Everything that we do is together. It's 100%. So there's never a shift of, well, you make more money or I make more money or I have money and you don't. Everything that we have, it's together. 100%. 100%. It's togetherness. And people sometimes aren't willing to make those sacrifices. Well, I have, 2 degrees, like those degrees mean nothing, because what we're doing now in our business, I have 2 master's degrees. What we're doing now, that doesn't require a degree. It requires hard work and togetherness and getting up at the crack of dawn and doing what you got to do to make this money, because the government is not coming to save us. They're not.
Yeah. Wow.
So what I like about what you said about those conversations is very, very, very true, because that's what you end up doing more of than anything else. I mean, absolutely. I love to do really great, unique things, and they can be, they range from everything from, doing some real exotic trip to Cape Town to me and him going on a road trip, which is one of the things we did to like Kentucky and whatnot. So, because he's an activist and wanted to see where Breonna Taylor, just doing things like that. But at the end of the day, ultimately we sit down and we have to be able to talk with each other. So that can be anywhere. And if that's not at your root or foundationally, in your relationship, then, that's problematic. To your point, like we can talk about people, about things, about, just everything. And so again, back to that being evenly yoked, I think it's even, it's even there, like, how do you communicate, and things like that. And to your point, girl, business partner,
I get it.
Other tane marriage, I don't know that I would have gone into business with my husband, because but here we are.
Right. Leave Tracy alone.
No, so obviously he's the successful business person. He's done it, for the 30 years. And I was the, executive person. And so, it's a learning curve. However, sometimes when people think they've done it forever,
leave the man alone.
So
Leave the man alone. Leave the man
No,
alone.
that's not in a negative way.
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
I would do things, a lot of things. There'd be some things I do different. There's some things definitely that we do similarly. But, sometimes I always love my husband. I don't always like my business partner.
Chad. I'm like,
What advice do you both have for women who are single, still looking
mm,
for their Mr. Right or Mrs. Right? I want to make sure I give everybody an opportunity to love whoever they want to love, however they want to love. What is the advice? Because
mm,
my husband says one of the reasons why he married me was that I just wasn't. Um, he offered me his debit card, and I didn't take
mm,
it, right? And then I took it and then didn't use it. He said, I realized you were responsible with money. He said, and I just knew at that point I wanted to marry you. And then we went through something where the country had gone down, when Barack Obama came in. So that was 2010, and things were still tight, and we were working together. And he says, all right, we'll do this. You just cover the groceries for the weekend. He had like $30 left to cover the groceries. And I made sure we had whatever we need to. And he was like, yo, she's the shiznit, right? And so he made up in his mind at that point. He said, because we could work with $1 million or we could work with $30. He understood that we were, that this wasn't money wasn't the deal breaker. And so we've been able to navigate and manage all our way through. So in the last year, 2025, we sat down and we began talking. All right, we know what's upon us. We can't continue to live like, fly there, go there, go there. Yes, we could, but we're going to pretend like needs only.
mm-hmm.
That's what we've been doing for the last year. Needs only,
I
right? We
love
go and
that.
we do what we need to do, kind of thing. And it's worked because now as we're seeing things shift and change around us, we are prepared because we did what we needed to do in 2025. So we were prepared for 2026, if that makes sense, right? So
Mhm.
what advice do you have for people who are looking for that right person that fits their glove?
So I have a 23-year-old daughter now. She went from 5 to 23 overnight. What I tell her is I have to tell her look inwardly. So a lot of times and this is just me and people like, oh, you're a pick me or whatever. But for women, I'm only talking to women now.
You're a pick me, been married 18 years.
Right. Make it make sense, right? For what I will say is do the work, do your inner work. Because so I'll give you an example. And I think I talked about this on one of the clips that I posted. At the time, we had a dog, and he didn't want the dog. The kids wanted the dog. Everybody's like, get the dog, get the dog. And I was like, okay. And he was like, okay, I don't want a dog in the house. I don't like dogs. If you get it, then it's y'all's responsibility. And so one day I took some, the night before I took some Benadryl. So I'm sleeping. I wake up, he's on his phone laughing. He has his his AirPods in, laughing, watching a movie. And I look over like, dude, get the dog. And so I was like, hey, did you get the dog? He was like, no. And he's like, I promise you, I didn't think about it. I apologize. So he ended up getting up. And I had to really sit on the side of the bed as a mental health therapist and tell myself, he loves me. He loves me. He cares for me. He does it, all the things. But I had to tell myself, he does not think like me. And that's okay. He's not supposed to think like me. So I think when I see women, what I would say is stop looking for someone to be everything that you're not necessarily willing to be either. You want this man to come into your life and take care of you. Well, what were you doing before that? So I had a debate on Facebook one time because I do most of the cooking because I like my cooking. And I had to tell myself that stop getting mad at this man for not cooking for you or making dinner when you really don't like eating like that. I mean, he makes a mean chicken marsala, but other than that, like his chicken is light skin. I like I like brown skin, dark skin chicken. And so I had to tell myself, stop getting mad at him for doing the things that he's not doing when you enjoy doing them more. Like I'm actually like, Andrea, I've been doing my cooking. So I'm making donuts today for the boys. So it's those, I enjoy doing it. So stop getting mad at him for not doing it. That's just me. That's just what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So do your inner work. Okay. All right.
Do your inner work.
Yeah. So when people ask me, and I put this out here all the time, when people ask me, how did you find your husband or how did you meet your husband? And I said, I fell in love with myself first. And so very similar. I was not having the experiences and relationships that I wanted to have. And I could not look at anybody but me. Yeah, maybe they did this or they did that, they did that, but either my energy was attracting them, or I was, staying in it too long, whatever, whatever the reason was. And so I just had to like really enjoy and fall in love with me. So my first thing was just to say, I don't have to be partnered or in relationship. I want to really just experience and love life. Like whether I'm doing something by myself or with others, I want to really enjoy myself, my company, and just love on myself. And that is where it started. And then I moved to Philadelphia and feel like that energy just brought so much love to me, met great people and I have a whole village here, and then ultimately met my husband. But I really do believe that it was all that work that I did. I had to resolve some things with my parents. And and let me be clear, I had an amazing childhood, but we all have parent issues, just at some point or another, we all had, my mom was, her expectations were so high that, I was always looking for validation, but, I'm pretty badass because of my mother, you know what I'm saying? So being clear that, it's not like I've had some really crazy parent issues, but some of the resentment that I felt, or some of the pressure that I felt, or some of the expectations that I put on myself, or just some of the things. So then I'm trying to be this over Uber girlfriend. Stop trying to be this over Uber girlfriend.
What is an over Uber girlfriend?
Just me running the relationship instead of letting the man come into it, because I'm trying to cook and I'm trying to anticipate what his needs are. So I don't even know if he likes me. It's just convenient because I'm doing all this stuff because I'm over trying to overachieve, always trying to overachieve. And so I needed to let them come to me, let them show that they wanted to take care of me. And Tracy is that. He just is that. He is my provider, my protector, and so from that perspective, I do try to do certain things, but I'm also clear on the things that I don't want to do. Because I don't want to resent the fact that I'm just not going to cook every night. I'm just not. That's not who I am. It was when I had my kids and I had to do that, but my kids have been gone. I've been on the road and gone and here 10 years. I hadn't had to do that anymore. I could go out and eat. I traveled for work, so that wasn't my thing. He was very much used to that. So we had to kind of come to some agreement. I'll cook this many days, but I'm not domestic like that. Just kind of never happened. I'm just not. Sorry.
So what we're essentially saying is that every relationship is individual, and in order for you
to
find the lid to your pot, you have to look at yourself first,
and you have to know who you are, and
yes.
you know what you will contribute to a relationship. That is, there's always give and take. You're always compromising. You're always, but ultimately, I have to love myself enough to be like my best self for me, so I can be my best self for you. And my best self for me isn't cooking every night, but my best self for me is like making sure our businesses are thriving. Like I get off on that. Like that is who I am. I want to overachieve in our businesses. I want our businesses to be successful. I want to be looking for every opportunity. Like, so if I can do that and then we go to dinner, you got a happy wife. I may be stressed, but I'm happy. So I just had to know who I was to know what and how, what type of man could fit into, my space. And then I also had to be okay with who I am. And I had to have a man who was okay with who I am. I have a much, Tracy,
because you found a lid for your pot, right?
Yeah.
After all that time, because I read your book, after all that time of trying to find the perfect lid for your pot, you had to stop and do your own work. And so we all need someone to accept us who we are.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, hold on one second. Let's talk a little bit about jealousy. Because the other day someone said to me, she was talking to a guy who was, he's a business, and she was talking to him about business, and his wife came up and was like, I'm his wife. He belongs. That was the vibe she was giving off. What causes us to do that, in our relationships?
Jealousy of other people?
Yes.
Insecurity, for sure.
Yeah. I've only been jealous when I've been in a non-healthy relationship. Because I'm,
That's a good point.
And there could probably be things in my current relationship that I could be jealous about, but I don't feel insecure. So, like Tracy and his ex-wife have a really great relationship, and they probably communicate more than I even know, and not but I just don't even think about it
Because they
because I
share children
don't.
together, but as long as
They,
you're secure in your marriage.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, but their kids is grown. Their kids is grown, so it's not like they share children like they're small.
It's still
But
their
yes, they
children.
do.
They
But
still
yes,
have
they
things
do.
to
Yes,
talk
but
about.
yes,
Yeah.
they do. But no, but
Yeah.
yes, they do, because I think a lot of people use that as an excuse. Once
Mhm.
children are grown, I don't know how much you need to talk. But I'm saying that, but I am saying that I just don't think about jealousy because I just am in a healthy relationship. And
Mhm.
any concern that I would have, we would just have a conversation about it. And I think in past relationships, I have not been confident enough to have the conversation, because a lot of times women silence themselves in order to kind of get along. They don't want to rock the boat. It's going well. I don't want to say anything. Whereas with Tracy early on, I said things, I said, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. Or, hey, like his ex-wife, they used to have a pet name for each other. And I was like, that doesn't make me feel good, because that makes me feel like you guys have this thing that I'm not part of. And I get it. You were married for a long time, but that has now ended and we're in this relationship together. And so while I respect you guys' relationship, that makes it feel like you guys got this little thing that, and yeah, just stop it. But
Mhm.
I communicated that. And a lot of times I would have kept my mouth shut and then just resented him and been mad. And then some other time would have blown up and
Mhm.
been like, and that's why, or
And then it
um,
comes up in an argument.
it comes up in
Mhm.
an argument, yeah. Or he dated a woman before me, and she had said some really inflammatory. We actually ended up having mutual friends, and she had said some really inflammatory things about him that were, definitely not true. But Tracy is just so, like, he's so above the fray that he just kind of, think about it. So you know how Apple, and I don't really know what the app is, but like pictures cycle through all the time. So all her pictures would always cycle through. And finally one day I was like, can you get her pictures off your phone? Because she out here talking about it. Like, I don't want to see her pictures on your phone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it wasn't a big thing. He wasn't even thinking about it. And he was like,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, let me,
Mhm.
so, and it was only because she, was bitter about the breakup and had said some really not nice things about him. If that wouldn't have been the case, then I probably wouldn't
Mhm.
have had the same reaction. But I'm like, I need you to be mad too. Like,
Sometimes they don't see what we see.
Yes,
right.
that is absolutely true. That
So
is
just like when you
absolutely.
mentioned that he's your protector, you're also his protector as well. In that regard, you were protecting his image and his things that you knew that she was saying. Like, girl, you're not a
Agreed.
good person. So
Because the
no.
reason why I even knew that we had mutual friends was because the person was like, hey, this guy looks like the guy that you're posting, and so I just want to. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, good looking out. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, because I know when people are bitter. And,
Right.
fortunately, Tracy has no secrets. I saw emails and so I knew who was bitter,
Mhm.
about the
Right.
breakup. And so, yeah. And so I was like,
Right.
you're right.
Right.
We don't need to see her face. Now, every other
Mhm.
girlfriend who's cool, yeah, that's fine. But not her.
Mhm. Right.
Oh,
And I get it.
Jesus. Go ahead, Natasha.
Mhm. No. I was just saying, I get it. I totally get it. I was going to say too, when you started talking to Andrea, I love your relationship with your husband and what you post, because what I think is important is that we don't always show the beautiful, the glamorous, and I
Mhm.
try not to do that. Like even my whole entire social media, I try to like show how these kids are driving me, you know,
Yeah.
off the rocker sometime, and how
Mhm.
they're greedy and whatever. The what I don't try to show like, oh, I'm so beautiful and I'm so wonderful. My life is so beautiful and glamorous, because it's not, it's real life. But what I like what you do is you talk about how Mr. is like, like y'all better come get him. And he has his own little fan
Yes,
base. And
he
people
does.
just love him for all his antics and what have you.
Mhm.
And you're like, no, come on my side. And they're like, no, beat it. We love Mr. So I think it's important that we show people the not so glamorous, but
Yes.
also just the real, because that doesn't serve anybody to think that they're in a relationship and that their relationship is not healthy or good because it
Because they're
doesn't look
seeing
like
everybody else.
all my
Yeah.
children and one life to
Yeah.
live. Like
Mhm.
that's not real reality. It's not.
Mhm. Mhm.
Agreed. And
Uh,
that one thing that we tried to do and haven't had the time to do it consistently is, because when we first got married, it was like, we were on this and that and did all the things. And then we bought the restaurant and whatnot. And then we bought the restaurant and we were so busy, we had to put our heads down and like really, really work. And we had some challenges during that time. We had some peaks, we had some valleys in relationship, because being in business with each other, it was just challenging at times. And I wish that we could have like communicated socially when all that stuff was happening, on the days that we weren't friends, on the days that it was like, look at here now, and it was not for, because I come on here and I share that, but so it was not for that we're trying to pretend like we have some perfect marriage. It was just, we were really, really busy and just kind of, just couldn't get that cadence going. And so it's something that we want to do, if we can kind of figure it out time wise. But I agree. I mean, I agree that, I think people show the really great part of marriage, and then all of a sudden they're not married anymore.
Right. And you're like, well, what the Sam here had
what
taken place
happened? Right.
here?
And you're kind of
Yes.
like, or you had this great relationship, and then all of a sudden you're single or you're by yourself and pictures are gone. And I hate that. Or even my friends who I have great friends who have great marriages, and sometimes I want them, I'm like, okay, I didn't know this behind the scenes. Okay, now I'm in a wives club. You didn't tell, you didn't tell me this, or you didn't show this part. You just showed y'all were out, on a date night or sipping champagne. And I think we do the world in general a disservice by not showing all the pieces. I was watching Sally Richards and Dondre Whitfield. I love them as a couple, and they talk about a lot of things that were challenging in their 23 years of marriage in Hollywood and all that stuff. And I really appreciate that, because again, it doesn't give that facade of everything's perfect all the time, although it's good. I mean, obviously I wouldn't be here if it was not good most of the time. But I do feel that we owe it to people, once we have a social platform where people kind of like look at our marriage as an example. I think we do owe it to the public to share those moments when it's not as good. I really do. Now, without we're not going to compromise the confidentiality and trust of our relationship, but I do think that there is a responsibility for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I want to address something that Essence Allens Presley said. She says, grown children have issues. I talked to my ex-husband because my daughter at 22 still needs support. I have to acknowledge that, Essence, because my sons are 29 and 34, and my ex-husband, I have to call. Sometimes I call and I go, can you talk to your son, because he's asking me things, blah blah blah. Or if there's an event happening in our family, you've heard me say this, in our family, if there's a graduation or a birthday party or the grandchildren, we all come together. My ex-husband, my current husband, we all in the house just, and we respect each other, right? The important thing is that the children are never seen as an afterthought. But that all relationships don't have that. There's some relationships where people get divorced and there is just complete cut off from any kind of communication. Tasha, you're so crazy.
Listen.
I'm assuming that's your issue.
Ooh, I mean, I can write. I started talking about it because it was before I was hesitant to talk about the ex issues, because I felt like that was my daughter's story, but that is my story, and I do need to let people know that there is life after divorce, and it can be a healthy, good life and a good love. But that whole time frame with him, I mean, to this day, it's still trickling over into our lives, because we see her. Yeah, we see her. So a quick story. She had a medical issue recently, and to the point where I had to fly out to Chicago and see her. And he was not very supportive of her, and to the point where she was crying and, why doesn't he love me? And it broke my heart. At 23, we're still dealing with this.
Yeah.
So it's not always roses, just because the kid, and it took me everything in my power not to call him and tell him about himself. But I had to tell. So my husband has been very, very good with reeling me in. I am from Philly. I have not always been this polished and all that, all that I'm showing and presenting myself. I am, my mother hates to hear me say I'm from North Philly. She's like, well, I'm from North Philly. I'm like, Mom, that was where I spent my adult years. But she's from South Philly. So if you know.
Right.
But it took my husband to say, like, look, calm down, like, stop being conceited. In that he told me in the beginning, stop being conceited and thinking that you have the magic words that's going to suddenly make him get it. Like he doesn't get it. He never will. So you're being conceited in thinking that you're going to call him this one day, this after you've called him 40, 50 other times, and then suddenly he's going to get it. Stop it. And I was like, okay, you got something there. And so for me, I had to this recent time, I had to I can't keep on trying to get him to see something that he's never going to get. He's just who he is. He's a Capricorn too, so you know. but so is my mother. So there you have that.
And let me be clear.
We don't usually act like that.
I guess the men do, because my mother's cool, right? Yeah. But he is crazy.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, and I've been a little facetious because that was the context in which I felt that I needed to bridge the gap with Tracy's ex-wife is because they do share children, and their children are very involved with both of them, and they share grandchildren, and now we've had another grandchild in our marriage. So I'm Glammy and she's Grandma Margaret, you know, so so I do recognize, you know, that they're not some estranged family. Like it would do no value for him to meet my children's father because he's just not, you know, not there, not present. But in that there is time where there still has to be boundaries, you know, and in the very beginning, when Tracy was probably a little bit uncomfortable, and I should probably let him say this for himself. I don't know this to be the fact, but I think when he was uncomfortable with me setting strong boundaries, because Tracy, I don't think he had women set that boundary with them before. I think it was just like, oh, we was married for all this time and we got kids, so we gonna just hang the way we want to hang. And like, no, you still have to have a boundary. And in the beginning, when I was requiring him to set that boundary, it would be, but we got kids together and we've been married 30, you know, that would be the default justification of, and I'm like, yeah, you do. And there's still a way that a man that's going to be with me, because you don't have to do nothing. You don't have to change a thing, but I may not hang around, because there still has to be a boundary in how that engagement works. And quite frankly, I don't know too many of them, him nor her, nor that would allow, or that would be okay with the way in which we all engage. Because sometimes I do say, now, if it was the other foot and we were in California and I was doing all this with my ex-husband, I don't know that you'd be that comfortable. So I need you to be mindful. And I know for a fact that, you know, they've had issue with people, or, you know, just whatever, or, you know, I don't want to give everybody's business, but people's girlfriend, you know, you dating this guy now and his baby mama is doing this. And I'll be like, yeah, and I deal with that all the time. And I can be mature about it. So respect that.
Relationships are such an intricate way for us to get through life, and we need each other. We absolutely need each other. You know, so my husband, I said to him, wear your mask. Flu season out there. I need you have asthma. I need you to do X, Y, Z. He got sick, right? Also, when I took my week off, we were supposed to go visit friends, and we had these great plans. We're going to go on a road trip. We get up the morning to go, and he sounds like he's about to die. And I start to watch him, and he looks muley. And I said, what the hell? Oh, that was last night. It suddenly came on. I was like, nah, bro, I told you to wear your mask, right? He's like, I wore my mask, blah, 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 blah. So I left him home. I went on the road trip by myself. I came back. Christmas Day, which is his birthday, he's still sick. I said to him, are you taking da, 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 da? And he looking at me. The bottle is still full. One step away from pneumonia. And no, this is not a proud moment for me. I went off until our daughter was like, I'm going home. I was like, you gonna die on me? I mean, I let him have it. I ripped, right? He was so pissed off by the way I spoke to him. You know, it took a few days for us to get to a place where we start to have the dialogue around, this is why I did this is not the reason I did not mean to speak to you that way. It was the only way I felt that I could get across to you in that moment, because you were not listening to me, right? So we go through, and now he's fine. And I was like, you stay up on the third floor. Don't bring your little cooties down here to me. I'm not having it. But but these are the things. We think that life is copacetic and all is well and wonderful. I adore my husband, but baby, there's some days I'd like to sweep him up and go, tup, 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 out. And I'm sure he feels the same way about me because we are intricate human beings. We don't.
But when you say that, and I know the history of you celebrating your mother's loss, so I know that it comes from that fear of like you can't leave me too. And it's good that it sounds like he recognizes. It's always good when our partner can recognize where that hurt or that anger, that frustration is coming from. It's not that it's directed. I mean, it's directed at him, but it's not. It's the reasoning, the rationale from behind it is mature when we can recognize, like, okay, he's upset or she's upset because this is what's going on.
Yes, no, and that's really, really true. And that, I think that also is back to that being evenly yoked, being able to recognize or having the desire to recognize the why behind whatever the action is. And
giving grace.
So that, like, I'm just kind of big on respect. And if I kind of feel like I'm not being respected, I've got a problem with that. And, there will be times when my husband didn't really understand that. And so he would be like, oh, well, you're just insecure. No. I want to be respected. And I don't think I'm being respected in this moment. And that's not about security.
So does it trigger something in you when someone says to you, you're just insecure?
No, it doesn't trigger anything in me. No, because I'm not insecure. It's easy to throw words at people when you don't want to change some behavior. So if you don't want to change your behavior, if I'm asking you, I'm saying, hey, the way this interaction went with this person or whatever, it's easy for someone to be like, oh, no, no. I would like you to navigate that differently. I would, again, for me, coming into a whole, unfortunately, we lost Tracy's first cousin over the holidays. And so we'll be at his funeral on Saturday. It will be his ex-sister-in-law, which is still her sister-in-law to me, to all of us, had a son by him. Like, I am immersed in a whole life.
It's a whole thing going on over there.
Preceded me. That is all connected. Absolutely. Absolutely. So our nephew is, and she's like my mother-in-law now, my mother-in-law's grandson. So his ex-wife's grandson, our nephew is her nephew. Like, yes, very, very. So I want to be respected in that
when
how
you
I
walk
navigate.
into
and
that,
and when people say things to me or say things to early on, people would say things. I'm like, no, I need you to handle that because I want to be respected because I'm managing and navigating a lot. So that's not insecurity, and you can't just throw that on me because you may feel uncomfortable to have to address this. You're not gonna throw that. You're not.
This conversation got hot today. The tea.
Oh, that's not hot.
No. Because what I'm saying is, listen to me, Sheree. Yeah. What I'm saying is, when I say it's hot, is because we're talking about different perspectives that people are actually appreciating and understanding. Because we don't talk about this ish. We act like everything is wonderful. Right, but you now have a family that's all immersed and tied and linked, and you're right as the newest part of that.
And I'm an out person. So my need is to have my husband make sure that I'm always comfortable. And that's not about me being insecure. That's about me wanting to be handled a certain way in these environments. Now 5 years in, there's a whole different, it's a whole different story. Again, Tracy's mother-in-law is my mother-in-law, like seriously, I love them. They love me. We are a big family and I appreciate that. But it had, we had to kind of navigate the uncomfortable parts at one time. And you don't get to default and just be like, you're insecure. No, we need to navigate this in a healthy, mature way so that we all feel comfortable.
I love that.
It makes a whole lot of sense. And Natasha, please feel free to join us anytime you feel like. This was a good, really good conversation. Sheree, how can people find you?
Booker's Restaurant and Bar, 5021 Baltimore Avenue.
There now.
Remember,
don't forget to come and tell the people that I'm coming for my entree. Okay.
Tell me when you're. tell me
Yes.
when you're coming so I can tell them.
Yes. Yeah.
Children 10 and under eat free. And if it's your birthday, come on in. But it has to be your actual birthday. You can't be like, well, I'm here on the weekend. It's my birthday.
Yeah, my birthday was December
last Tuesday.
15th. I can't come back for my birthday.
No, but mine was just on Sunday, so I'm coming back for my birthday. Coming in. It's been less than a week. I'm getting there.
We'll give an exception.
Yeah,
But yes,
well,
that's
thank
where
you. We truly appreciate it. And these were called the streets. So now, Viola said, I'm taking a nap after this. Jesus, this is a great conversation. My husband just texted me and said the feeling is mutual with all these little lovey buggies. I wasn't trying to listen. I'm not trying to let him die. Natasha, how can people find you, honey, if they want to see these videos that you've been posting with?
Yes.
And so I just started making my videos public. So I am on the Facebooks, as I call them. I'm on Natasha Warner, and then I'm on the TikToks as I forget what my name is over there. Tosh Money or something. I forget. Yeah, Table Talk with Tosh. And so that's where I'm at. I'm trying to get more, busier on the TikToks. Now that I'm free from the government, I can let my hair down a little bit and be wild and crazy.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. It was
Now,
such
what is
a
it on
pleasure.
TikTok?
I have to, when you friend request me, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, my friend requested you on TikTok.
And my husband just reminded me, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe and share right?
Like, subscribe, and share on this platform. So thank you all so much. It was a great conversation. I'm going to go find the gym to work off some of this angst about what's going on in this country. Natasha, I want you to come back on to talk about the federal part as an employee that, that is retired. Yes. And what do you see as a woman that worked with the FBI for all the years that you have? What's going on around the country that we can't see from the
that video? I'm very hesitant to say more about that because it's very sensitive, but I watched that video of the woman getting murdered last night, but the government won't see it that way. And that would be a great topic to help people get their emotions in check on that, because it's not going to end well for the family.
Damn.
He will get off scot-free. He will. Absolutely. But I'm always hesitant because it's like, people are very emotional about that. But the law is the law. Imminent danger is a real thing.
And did he think he was in imminent danger?
He was. Looking at that video, he was.
Oh, snap. Okay, next Tuesday.
Okay. All right, I'll be here.
Because from a law enforcement perspective, again, see, we're in the emotional part of it, right?
Right.
And because of ICE and what's been going on around the country, people are just like, see, now they just shot a white woman in the face, right?
Right.
Next Tuesday, that link you've got, next Tuesday, we'll talk about it.
Sounds good.
Love you all so much.
Love you.
And then, everyone's asking 10 for the kids, 10 and under.
And it's only for the month of January?
That's all
right now, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right now, okay.
All right.
All right, bye, my darlings.
Bye. See you, mister.
Bye. This episode of Mornings with Mom was officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Work this off in the gym. I've got to, because baby, this news.